Alrighty, good morning, everybody. It is Monday, March 10th of 2025. Let's go ahead and jump right into it here. As you guys can see, just in the last couple minutes, beautiful hold right from our roadmap level here at 89, bringing us right up into this nice little parry right off the next roadmap level, only to bounce at the moment right off the FMA. I do want to jump back. I think there some really two good examples of trading on the long side and the short side on Friday that I want to take a look at. So you can see so far in the overnight session, our Sunday Globex session here, we're continuing to kind of travel right back down into the low of Friday. That was up until this bounce we just got from the roadmap level, so we'll see what ends up happening there. But let's go ahead and go back to Friday. And if you recall from our pre-market broadcast, we talked about the potential for the market to be choppy and indecisive, given that we had two big news events happening. We had Powell speaking midday, and we had that crypto conference or whatever, the crypto summit that Trump was holding with some of the, some of the bigger names in the crypto arena yesterday. Or on Friday, and so it made sense for the market to potentially be a little bit all over the place, if you will. So we didn't do a lot of trading per se, but despite that, I do want to point out when you're in an indecisive market, and even when you're in a bullish or a bearish market, you're gonna have opportunities to make money on the long side and the short side if you're scalping on short time frames, right? And arguably you probably have swing opportunities on the long and the short side, etc. But from these very short time frames, if you're looking for little 5-10 point moves in the market, I know some of you are only looking for a point or two for true scalp in there, but little 5-10-20 point rotations, sometimes 30-40 point rotations, you can find them on both sides and make money on both sides, even when you're in a somewhat of a bearish or a bullish market. So I wanted to point out there were two really, really sexy trades on Friday here that you could have tried. Now, again, I wasn't trading very much because I was expecting potentially choppy conditions, and I had made my money for the week. It's Friday. A lot of times I'm not looking to get too crazy. I think I took a scalp early on in the market, right off of the 200 or something, and got a scalp off, made a little bit of money on it, and then came back, took my runners out, and I just kind of chilled out. So I want to point out, 57.46 quarter, my friends, has been on the charts here for a couple of months now, ever since we moved into this new March 2025 contract, which, by the way, is going to be expiring here in just a couple days. We've plotted this point and we said 57.46 quarter, when, by the way, the market was trading up in the 6,000s. We said that this was most likely going to be a strong support zone, which can be interpreted as a strong support and resistance zone, right? So let's look at it from the higher time frames here. What happened at 57.46 quarter? We sold off from, we're literally in nearly a 500-600 point sell-off right now. And that whole sell-off brought us all the way down. And we bounced just a couple days ago, maybe a week ago now, right off 57.46. Okay, so obviously there not only was there notable rotations in the past, going back, probably months and years in the past here, but it was relevant just a couple days ago. And then we saw inside of what looks like to be some chop in here, some additional notable rotations throughout the last couple days of trading. So let's go down now to the shortest time frame and look at some of the details here. Again, this is 57.46 right here. And again, like I said, it chopped around this area, but despite that, still some pretty notable rotations right off 46 quarter here. We come right into it, pull back, break out from there. Like I said, it was a little dirty in there, a little bit messy, but there were still a lot of rotations right around that 46 quarter. And this was after we had come down and it became the low of the day, right? So again, I'm just pointing out, even though we were chopping back and forth through 57 quarter or 46 quarter there, we still used it here for some pretty notable rotations throughout whatever day this was, right? And then as you come into the day I'm talking about here, which was Friday, you can see, again, chopping around through this level. But again, this is in the pre-market on Friday, and actually an hour or two before the open, holds it here on this sell-off and bounces to reject off the FMA. Again, textbook price action. Then we come back up through it and come down and bounce again right off of it. And then right out of the open on Friday, we come right to it and get a nice healthy pullback, the biggest pullback out of the open. So we know there's a huge edge to that area in the market. We do see notable rotations, in many cases to the tick right off of it. Okay, so as we came into Friday here, we get the first major pullback from there. And then I want to talk about here the two opportunities you had from that level. So I just spent a couple minutes here explaining why I like 46 quarter. And then here you can see on Friday, you get this beautiful parry right off of it here, just a half hour into the open. So again, you get a short off of it out of the open and then a long. Now, in my opinion, the two best trades of the day were first this long from that level, and then secondly, the short from that level later on in the morning, just an hour later. And so my argument here is, in an indecisive market and even in some trending markets, you're going to see this type of stuff where you can make good money, the long side and the short side, right off one of the roadmap levels. And so I just want to show you here, why do I think that this long from here and why this short from here were the two best things you could have done? Well, first of all, on this first pullback of the morning, or the largest pullback of the morning, we had this sitting here naked, right? We had the swing, and used the wrong button there. We had this swing right here. And by the way, when we came up into there out of the open, there was a nice clear bearish divergence on that swing high from the previous swing there. You can see it very clearly here. There was a beautiful short opportunity. You could have made over 10 points. It was a 17-point sell-off from that level before they came back and broke out. But as they came back, there was that naked swing. We know the level has edge, and then you had yourself a typical bullish divergence where we had this type of situation going on. Right, big bullish divergence from these two swings. And then from there, we get a over a 20-point bounce, right? So could have made plenty of money on the way up. And then, so that, in my opinion, great opportunity because we were starting to look strong. It was pushing higher, and we were testing the first major failure point from the regular trading hours. Now, on the other side of it here, and remember, I think our lesson, just the video before this, was changing your bias when new information comes into the market. So let's say we were bulls on Friday, expecting the market to push higher. Well, we got the move out of the open, but then some things started to come into the market, some new data that started to clue us into potentially changing our perspective or our bias. And that was, again, holding below the VWAP, getting our crossovers, and then starting to break down through some of our key supports that were where we were finding support earlier in the day, right? So they came down. Notice almost perfectly here, we're still holding these roadmap levels. The next bounce, right at the next roadmap level where you got a big bullish divergence on that second swing low. So again, beautiful long opportunity, very limited risk right off the level. Look at that divergence. Okay, if you're watching this stuff in real time, that to me looks like a great opportunity right there. Even if you wait for the hook to form and enter and know you're long within 2 to 3 points below you, you have an opportunity that this could turn into, that could be the low of the day for all we know, right? So we come down, we hold the first level of support, bounce out 20 points from there, come back down, bounce off the next roadmap level, only to basically reject off the 200, right? Didn't work to the tick, but basically reject right off the 200. And then we start to get really far away from that morning range. Well, when it comes all the way back up into this 57.46 quarter level, let's take a look here eventually. Again, bouncing basically off the next roadmap levels. Just blows me away, guys. Holds the first one, holds the second one, flushes through the third one, bounces at the fourth, and then bounces at the fifth. So out of the 5 levels, it cuts right through in a very heavy sell-off, and then bounces at the next 2. It's like I rest my case. Every time I do this broadcast, it's just another confirmation of the strength of the roadmap levels. So we bounce out and then eventually come all the way back up. Where to? Oh, look, 57.46. But it's not just 57.46. It is also the major swing here from the morning, the major rotational point. It's also VWAP, and we were looking pretty heavy. So that, my friends, and then the icing on the cake, the thing that would have triggered me to get in this short. Again, I wasn't really trading. I might have not even been at the charts. I don't remember. But we come all the way back up. They come right to the VWAP here, and you get a near perfect bearish divergence. There's the hook. There's the pattern. Can you guys see it? You should be able to see it now very clearly. You get a swing to a slightly higher high to the tick off the VWAP. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes they peek through a little bit, but many times they hit it to the tick. There's the divergence. And now we begin a beautiful pullback. Now, how many times do we pull back and then we come right to the FMA? In this case, look how we have the roadmap level and the FMA here within a point of each other, and they bounce from there and come right back. It's always possible that you get one of these pullbacks or even a shallow pullback to right there, and they come up and they make a higher high, and then maybe from the slightly higher high, they then pull back a little deeper. It's always possible, but again, there's your setup. You know you're pretty much have a good trade down to the FMA, which is giving you over 5 points to the downside. And then if that doesn't hold for the bounce to come back, this could again be a pullback to the next major support at 26, giving yourself 20 points to the downside from 46 to 26 or 47 to 26, right? And eventually that's exactly what happens. So in my opinion, those were the 2 sexiest things you could have done, trading both sides of the market, making some damn good money to the upside and making some damn good money to the downside. And in this case, the short would have been the larger money maker, again, assuming you have runners and etc. But once again, my friends, 57.46 quarter becomes the most notable level of rotations. And then later in the day, when we bounce from the next major roadmap level, we come all the way back to 57.46 quarter. They push right into it. And what do they give you on the second swing high of the test of the level? Oh, what do you know? You've got a divergence on the first test, and that second swing high is kind of that perfect, picture perfect pattern I love to see. And from there, like I said, getting short from here, I'm typically thinking, okay, I'm not going to say guarantee, you're not guaranteed anything, but I can pretty much have a good expectation that if this pattern is going to follow through, I can make money down to the FMA, which is still 5 points below me, right? So I've got some room to make some money to the FMA. And if this ends up turning into a much larger rotation, I now have 10 points down to the next roadmap level, 14, 15 points to the VWAP, and another 20, 30 points to the next roadmap level. And eventually, what'd you get? And then they bounce, my friends, right almost to the tick off the next roadmap level. Okay, so great opportunities on Friday. I mean, if you just zoom out and look at the big turns in the market, they're right to the tick off our roadmap levels. So if you were using our levels and maybe here for our pre-market for some ideas for trading, should have been able to make some decent money. And then and this is actually really funny. At the end of the day, I left. I forget what I was doing. I think I was out getting some sun and doing my stuff, and I came back and I noticed we were pulling back from 50% of the day before. Hey, what do you know? And we had just parried off the back end of the 200, which really would have been the sexy trade. So I saw that, and this is what the charts look like when I got back to the screen. We were pushing right up into the back end of this guy, and I saw that divergence forming, and we were selling off from 50% the previous day. They had just held the back end of the 200, and so I put on small sizes. It's Friday now in the afternoon, and I put a short on. Quite literally, I put a micro. I put a single micro on just to see, hey, can I get a 5-pointer? And I did. Against maybe just a little bit of luck, but again, my same setup in, again, expecting a deeper pullback once we reject off the 50% and the 200, at least down into the first expected support down here, and didn't quite get the bigger push. But again, I was just looking for a 5-point short there. Hey, a little 25-pointer, just for some fun, maybe a boredom trade at the end of Friday there. So, and then the funny part was right after I put this on, Neil jumped into the room. Neil, all the way over in Australia. And he jumped in. I'm like, hey, Neil, I literally just put a trade on, and then you just walked right in. He's like, have you ever heard of a fairy godfather? So I guess he had my back there. But anyway, here we come into the open. Let's go ahead and jump up to higher time frames now. Got about 10 minutes to talk about what the charts are saying as we come into the open this morning. And again, not cherry picking a single damn thing here. We got to bounce within 2 points of the roadmap level. We reject firstly with a bearish divergence off the first roadmap level and come right into the 200 for the deeper pullback now. And what do you know? Right up to 5,700 half. Incredible. So let's go ahead and jump up to the higher time frames now, see what they have to say.